Le Cordon Bleu College of Culinary Arts is dedicated to preparing aspiring professionals in the areas of culinary arts, patisserie and baking, and hospitality and restaurant management.
Disaster Planning and Response Art Rescue is a first responder for the world of art, providing planning, packing, evacuation, conservation, and storage for all your treasured possessions. Paperweights are the crown jewels of glass artistry. You can discover both antique and modern paperweights at the L.H. Selman Gallery in Chicago's Fine Arts Building.
My name is Elysabeth Alfano, and you are at Funeral Art Presents the Dinner Party. I invite 3 Chicago luminaries, usually artists, but sometimes politicians, as we'll see tonight, inventors, scientists, entrepreneurs, and I also invite a celebrity chef to cook for them. So over food and wine pairings, which are going now, and some Bose chocolates and Twitter and artist performances, the conversations flow. So a couple things are happening tonight. We are streaming live on Time Out Chicago, and we love them. So I'm glad to have a huge Time Out community watching us right now, which is great. Another thing that's happening is this is really a participatory event. So you guys are all eating and drinking, which is great, and hopefully you'll be Twittering to us. So a big part of tonight is that you get to ask your questions, and that gets to be a part of the conversation. And I guess that's the question that I want to start with you guys and open it up to you. Since you're all leading in your different industries, do you agree with me that Chicago's at a crossroads right now, a brink really going to the next level? And if so, what trends are you seeing in your different areas for that to be true?
I can start.
Okay, go ahead.
12 years ago, when Sheckley started, Chicago was a very, very different restaurant town than it is now, right? And so the scene here has exploded as far as the restaurants, as far as the type of talent that we attract to come here. We are like the avant-garde culinary center of the world. Yeah. We have the number 1 restaurant in the country or the world, depending on how you look at it.
And what is that restaurant?
Well, it's Alinea.
Okay.
Grand Acus Alinea.
I was going to say.
And he also has Next, which is, you can't get into.
I can't get into Next.
No one can get into Next.
Gosh darn.
You can't get into Next? You can get in.
Well, people clearly get in because they keep it going. But so, so what we've done on the restaurant scene, and I think now it's starting, we've always had great cultural institutions.
Right, sure.
And we've had great theater. And we've had, a great place to be, but I think we've taken it to the next level. Even Millennium Park. I mean, what an incredible attraction that is.
Right, and I think that's a big thing that pushed us kind of to the next level.
And I think and Commissioner Boone can talk about it. There was a commitment from Mayor Daley and I think Maggie Daley, but now there's a bigger commitment from Mayor Mayne.
Yes, don't you all feel that the mayor's really behind the arts, being the dancer that he is?
So I think recently Chicago has really exported some of the finest in arts and culture around the world. That the Chicago Symphony Orchestra just wrapped up tours to Russia and Italy and Mexico. Right now we have Steppenwolf Theater on Broadway with Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Yeah. So the world is starting to see a lot of what we have being exported out. And so the goal of the plan is to not only share with everyone this great work that's happening as it tours the world, but to also invite the people to come back to the city and explore the neighborhoods and find those real cultural treasures and gems that are happening in Bronzeville, in Albany Park, in Garfield Park, all across the city. And really understand the vibrancy that we have here in the city.
Right. Do you feel this in fashion?
No, I was going to say that I think that the arts kind of follow a continuum, and arts is such a broad term.
Right.
And when I think of food, I think we're very far along the continuum, and when I think of theater, we're very far along the continuum. And there are reasons for that, because we had early pioneers who were successes 25 and 30 years ago. So in food, you had Charlie Trotter, who was a national figure, and everyone came through his kitchen, and you have these second and third generation chefs. and they're spawning new chefs. And if you look at the root of why we have a successful restaurant scene, it's because of pioneers a long time ago. And I think the same thing is true with theater. We had the Steppenwolf that I think was founded about 25 or 30 years ago, and the Goodman Theater, and we have Second City, and we have this history of these incredible theatrical groups and actors that have come through there and continue to support it, and Looking Glass, and it goes on. The same thing can't be said for fashion. I can't name a designer who was a huge star. She moved to New York 20 years ago.
Right.
She's not here.
Yes, but
She went to school here.
Right.
So she has a kind of a thread that connects her here. But we do not have someone who has stayed here in fashion and made a success of themselves in a long-term, big picture way, who has then educated other designers, who has created an infrastructure. Our fashion community doesn't have a big infrastructure. Designers struggle with finding pattern makers, and they struggle with finding stores to buy their things. They struggle with finding the right kind of fabrics and trims, and things like, you want to be a designer, but there's nowhere to get sweaters made in Chicago, so you have to outsource to go to California. Yeah, there's nowhere to buy these things. So because of those reasons, I think that food and theater are much further along than other areas of the arts, especially fashion. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be so honest, right? No one's watching this on Time Out. But that's the thing. I mean, so in the fashion industry, there is talent, but those few find it very hard to get the infrastructure they need to succeed.
But not that I know that much about fashion, but as far as restaurants, I don't think it's the same.
Sure.
I don't think people leave Chicago. I don't think restaurateurs leave Chicago to go to New York. You'll occasionally have them leave to go to Vegas if they get to run a big restaurant at a hotel,
It's
which
almost
they can't
the reverse.
do.
You almost want
People
to
come
stay
here, of course,
here. Yes.
and they have historically stayed here. I just think it's different, and we are a leader in the restaurant business. I will say one industry that has a chance. Technology has a chance, although it's a little far behind. But actually, the film industry is really trying.
Yes, as well.
And I'm sure the Commissioner knows that, like, CineSpace is building out 1.5 million square feet of studio space. They have Boss there, they have Chicago Fire there, Sirens is in town, and they may go on to be big hits. They may not, but they are. People will move back to Chicago who are in the film industry if there's a film industry.
Right, and that is growing. That is sort of coming back. And you're right about technology too. So I don't know if you guys heard this, but Microsoft just swooped in recently and bought a small Evanston company. Does anyone want to hear this? A company called Marketing Pilot. So there's more innovation coming here and more technology. This is usually the time in the show when one of my guests, each guest performs, and so this would be Michelle Boone's time to perform, but I'm going to guess that maybe you don't want to sing and dance. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
It's not so much that I don't want to sing and dance, I don't think you want me to sing and dance.
All right, so I knew this, and I love surprises, so I did some research, and I found out your very favorite jazz artist, Dee Alexander.
Yes.
She was all set to come here and perform, and she called about 2 hours ago and said she was sick. And I was like, all right, well, if we're not going to have her favorite singer in the city of Chicago, then we're going to have mine. So please welcome such a Chicago talent, a true friend, and he is really, as I think, the epitome of Chicago music and really soul and grassroots. Please welcome Nicholas Barron.
We root for each other pretty much, right?
It's so
in
true.
LA and New York, they don't root for each other as much. We want, they're happy, and it's a very close. The restaurant community is huge, but it's very tight knit, and you can trace people's 6 degrees of whatever.
You really can. Everyone's related to Paul Kahn somehow.
There's a lot of Trotter, as we were saying before.
Yes,
there's a lot of Paul. There's great restaurateurs. There's great chefs.
Yes.
It's a great place to be.
Yeah.
Great. I love Chicago. Chicago's an unbelievable city. It's at the top of its game right now, and it's getting better and better.
It's getting better.
I think one of the things, too, that is probably true in the culinary, but certainly a lot in the performing arts, is that in Chicago, you're able to experiment and try new things, and it's not going to kill your career.
Right.
That you will not be destroyed and out because you tried something that maybe didn't work. People have a very welcoming spirit and allow you to try these new things, and they'll go along with you.
That is Chicago. We don't care just about celebrities. We care about real people too, but we do get excited when we see our Bulls player out on the town. That's like a big moment, you know, so we try to put a little bit of everything.
And I think we do have the celebrities, but we have celebrities that work, right? We had like the most famous woman in the world, Oprah Winfrey, living here for years. But the other, you know, kind of bold type names, John Mahoney, the Cusacks, you know, Vince Vaughn just recently moved back here. David Schwimmer is still on the board with Looking Glass. I mean, we have a culture of celebrities, but they're celebrities that are hard workers, and that's an ethic that Chicagoans can relate to.
And they all say people here leave them alone. Like, people are very respectful. We don't have, being a member of the press, I'm proud to say we don't have paparazzi here. We don't hound people. We don't shoot inside their backyards. You know, we're not trying to get pictures of them topless. It's just not the way the media works here in Chicago. We're pretty respectful, though, of our...
David takes issue with this.
Yeah, I know.
I'd like to see this revised.
If you want to see David Schwimmer topless, I'll work on it, but it's not going to be easy.
Well, I think that's the great thing about the feature, the Splash, is that it reminds Chicagoans about this really deep bench of talent that we have here.
Yeah.
And it reminds them that these are Chicagoans. So the Jennifer Hudson, the Buddy Guys, these are people that really claim Chicago as their home. And so I think it reinforces that this is a celebrity town.
I have a tweet for the whole table. At Wicker Micker, which is kind of an interesting one, at Wicker Micker, it wants to know, who has also won 2 tickets to the next dinner party, so good for you. What is the one offering that Chicago does hands down better than New York?
Media. No, I'm kidding. Our newspapers,
Well, look, one thing that I think Chicago has hands down, not only over New York, but the world, is this architecture.
Yes, right, of course.
I mean, we are the home of modern architecture, and hands down, no competition. This is the place for it.
And there's still space to do it, right? And the support to do it. Okay, but all this talking, when we have a food at our disposal, so let's go ahead and see what Sean Sanders has made for our entree.
We need to support our own local economy. And one of the only ways that I can see it by doing that is supporting our own local food movement. So there's many, many farmers, there's many farmers, there's many meat farmers, there's many fish farms, there's many things that are all around our area, and we could really create our own local economy and help our economy within itself. You know, if everybody had an intention of eating locally and really doing this to the fullest extent of the word, Monsanto would just kind of fizzle out, because we wouldn't be able to support what Monsanto has. Everybody would be going a different direction.
Wouldn't that be great?
You know,
have some of your own food.
One of the biggest things for me is that it's not Monsanto's fault, it's our fault. And the reason I say that is that for us to eat the way that we're supposed to eat, or the way that we originally started eating, we have to continue to eat these foods. We can't go to Jewel, we can't go to the regular store and buy all of the GMO foods and the cheap milk and the cheap cheese and keep buying those things. For sustainability to work, we have to support sustainability and support the idea of it. That's how sustainability is going to work in this country.